G'day everyone, Connor McDonald here. As you can probably tell by any kind of look at the backdrop, I'm here in Singapore. I should say welcome to Singapore. You can see the Marina Bay Sands, or the surfboard as a lot of people call it, that hotel and casino complex. It's not really a welcome for me, it's a goodbye. I've just finished the event here in Singapore and I'll be heading home to Perth tomorrow. It's my last city on the tour, so I figured it was a good time to give a bit of a wrap up and give my thoughts on the APAC tour, the APAC Groundbreaker Tour. For me, it started in Wellington, New Zealand, and then we all headed over to Melbourne, had an event there, and then Perth, my hometown. It's always nice to give talks in one's hometown. You see lots of people that you've either worked with in the past or work with currently, and I don't get into the Oracle office that much home in Perth, so it was good to actually catch up with the local Oracle account team there and get abreast of what's been happening all over the world from the Oracle landscape. And finally, we've come to Singapore. We held an event here near the Oracle office here in Singapore. That doesn't mean the tour has finished, it's just finished for me. The tour continues on into China over the next couple of days, and then I think next is Tokyo, and then finishing in Korea. So if you're seeing this video in time and you live in those regions, make sure to catch the tour as it comes wandering through your city. Lots of really cool content there. In terms of the events in Australia, I should obviously give a shout out to all the speakers that made the long trek to Australia and New Zealand. I know firsthand that anywhere coming to Australia or anywhere going from Australia is typically a very long haul. So for all those speakers that spent their various double-digit hours stuffed in economy class, my heart goes out to you. I know exactly how it feels, but thank you very much for making the time to come and add so much value to our events down under here in Australia. While I'm talking tours, I should say that there's a Application Express set of events coming in Australia in the very near future. I'll put a link down below. You can see that there will be Application Express events in Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane by the people that actually write the product. Shakib and Christina will be coming out, and make sure you get along to those events if you're in any way interested in Application Express. And obviously if you're watching this, you're possibly a DBA, because I run the DBA Office Hours channel. Even if you're a DBA, I'd strongly advise you get on to these events, because Application Express has a lot of cool things that you could use as a DBA. I'll put a link to a video I made a while back about that. But even if you're a DBA, get involved with Application Express. And if you're in those three cities, Brisbane, Melbourne or Sydney, make sure you get along as well. I think we'll have a lot of fun there. But in terms of highlights for me from the APAC tour just finished for me, I think one of the first things was I was very pleased to see that in all the cities I went to, Wellington, Melbourne and Perth and here in Singapore, numbers seem to have got up from previous years. And I think that reflects a renewed enthusiasm in the Oracle landscape now that a lot of enterprises out there are starting to actually seriously consider looking at running some or all of their workloads on the cloud. Yes, I know you'll take me to task and other people at Oracle to task for that we've been banging that cloud drum for a long time. But I think people have finally realized that, yes, this is a thing that's definitely going to happen. And there are definitely even a lot of benefits to actually having some or all of your services running on the cloud. Put my Oracle hat on and say, hopefully the Oracle cloud, but the reality is cloud with any vendor, I think is starting to finally show the reward on the promises that so much of us have been making over the years. In terms of highlights of each event, besides just the numbers of attendees, I did various talks on features at each event, and it's a common thing that we often do. We talk about what's coming in the next release, etc. But the reason I wanted to talk actually about features in particular in 19C at my events was not necessarily about feature grab or feature creep, more the fact that a lot of us now are actually facing that final sort of jump that we've been perhaps deferring for a long time, namely we have to upgrade. The levels of support and the support timeframes are coming to an end for the common releases that are out there in the marketplace, namely 11.2, 12.1, etc. I know we do an annual release. We have an 18C, a 19C, and a 20C. But one of the things I stressed in my talk, and I'll stress on this video, is if you're one of these customers that has deferred upgrading, make sure you jump to 19C. You might be looking at things like 18C as, oh, well, it's been out for a year now or a year and a half. Maybe it's the most stable. Please don't think of it that way. What you want to be doing is jumping to 19C, because that is the release that has what we call the longest period of support. If you are a customer that likes to defer upgrading as often as possible, you just do enough, like for example, security patches, 19C is the release you want to be jumping to, because you'll get almost a decade of support check my link note for the exact dates, but almost a decade of support once you go to 19C. The other releases, 12.2, 18C, and 20C and 21 and etc. into the future, won't have the same extended support periods as 19C has. So 20 won't, 21 have, I think 22 will be our next big long-term support release. As a result, we're offering customers two choices. If you're a customer that is very, very happy with your current feature set, you jump to the long-term release or long-term support releases such as 19C. If you're a customer that needs competitive edge by grabbing features that are new as soon as they come out, then you can obviously go to 18C, 19C, 20C, etc. to fast track that competitive edge you might get. But the key thing is the choice is yours. But for most people, I think you'll be looking at moving to 19C as a long-term support release. And yes, you can go directly to that release from 11 to 04, from 12 to, and even 18. So nice, simple auto upgrade job to run, get yourself onto 19C and enjoy that huge, lengthy period of support. The other big one, which I was so pleased that got a lot of excitement, was the free database announcement that came out of OpenWorld. We made a strong point of having almost every speaker mention that at the events that I were at in Wellington, Perth, and Melbourne and Singapore. And you could see people's eyes just light up when we said, it's not some sort of free trial. It's not a cut down free. It is literally an autonomous database and VMs and networking and lots of storage. Plenty of actual genuine, what I would call architecture and infrastructure and functionality to literally build fully fledged applications, knowing they're running on the absolute latest and greatest versions of the database and genuine highly spec'd hardware, Exadata hardware. So I'm really pleased to see that level of excitement. And anyone watching this video, I can't stress enough, get out there and kick the tires on this thing. See what you can do, especially for departmental applications. You might be able to offload heaps and heaps of small scale applications that you are currently using things like SQL Server or Access or in-house solutions that all require administration, they all require updating, they all require security patches. All of that stuff, you could now look at moving to an autonomous database running on our cloud and not paying a cent. It still just blows my mind that that offering is there. And I would strongly encourage you to all take a lot of advantage of that. Reach out to your people in the community to see who have done it before. Check out blog posts, check out my videos and other people's videos on how to get started, and see if you can jump aboard that bandwagon of having an incredibly powerful tool for no price whatsoever. It still amazes me. And while I'm talking community, I want to talk a little bit about these events I've just been to in terms of if you're not attending these events regularly, that my recommendation is I really think you're missing out. Now, we often talk about content and presentations at these kind of events, but I honestly believe that's perhaps one of the less important things because let's face it, a lot of content nowadays you can get off YouTube, off blogs, out of the documentation set, off white papers. A lot of this stuff is now freely available to you nowadays. However, the one thing you don't get in terms of just pure content that you do get at these kind of events is the ability to network with your peers. Now you might be thinking, yeah, that guy sounds like a broken record, he keeps saying this. But one of the things I really enjoyed was at the Perth event in particular, a lot of the faces weren't recognizable. It's people who have not been to these events before. Often, we see meetups and user group events where we think, oh, it's the same old people. But what I've seen all over the world this year is a lot of fresh and new faces. And I'm not talking just in terms of age here. I'm talking about exposure to Oracle. We're getting a lot of people of all ages and genders and cultures all over the world, all being fairly new to Oracle and seeking out the community, seeking out networking opportunities to actually grow their knowledge base and grow their own profile. I think that's really cool. And I'll admit that obviously over Twitter over the last few days, a lot of the networking events thing I've been tweeting out are things where I've taken the various overseas guests to things like Rotnest, or we went to Zealandia in Wellington. So there's sometimes a perception that the definition of networking is really just downtime where we get away from tech and we sort of chit chat. And that is part of it, but a much greater part of it is literally networking about tech on the day of these events. I had someone come up to me in Perth, someone who I've never met before, but they said, hi, Connor. They sort of knew me because I was a local. And we just sat down and we spoke about a couple of pain points they were having for their customer applications. And it was one of those probably more good luck than good management, sort of fortunate things where the problems they were having related to a talk I'd given in New Zealand regarding flashback. So it was one of those great things where we could just sit down together, we fired up the laptop, went through the slide deck, and very quickly came up with potential solutions to the problems they were having. Those kind of things just don't occur unless you're prepared to make that first step, get along to these events, make conversation with people, and you'll be amazed at the benefits you might get. Anyway, that's enough from me. That's my tour wrap up. Hopefully you got some value out of that. If you came along to any of the sessions of mine or any of the other speakers over the last week or so, I hope you got a lot of value out of it. I hope you really enjoyed it. And hopefully you'll continue to support your local user groups and local meetup communities. Please reach out to me on my blog or via Twitter if you want to chat more about the Oracle community in the APAC area. For me, I have to admit, I could sit in this room and just look at the view all night long, but I have to get some work done and obviously edit this video. So thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you all again in a city near you soon. Bye for now.